I think when I came on board, immediately I was like, right, well, I need to get up to Glasgow. And before we started shooting, I kind of based myself there for a month or so, on and off, and we were rehearsing with the band up there, and then I was working with a dialect coach for kind of 3 months before we started shooting. So yeah, I just drenched myself in a lot of basically whiskey for kind of months preceding my integration into the Glaswegian mentality. That and her white cowboy boots were my main port of calls.
Amazing. I was going to say, what do you love about Glasgow, and what were some of your highlights of staying there?
Oh God, Glasgow completely stole my heart. I just think it's just such a great city, and it's the people, man. Like, the people are just so open-hearted and kind of they have like this like simmering rebellion and fun and naughtiness, and like one day we were on set up in Mary Hill, and it was like the only sunny day up in Glasgow, and all the hens were outside and getting butter on themselves and kind of tanning up with their vodka and iron brew. And like, come over here and have a drink. And I like went over, and they're like, I love your cowboy boots. And all of a sudden I'm in this gaggle of kind of women in Mary Hill. And anyway, I had to go to set, and the next morning I got to set, and they'd like bought a tray of donuts for the cast and crew from Greg's, and a bottle of gin and a bottle of tonic for me. And like, that is just Glasgow. And then we invited them down to set to when we were shooting Outlaw State of Mind, and they just had the best time, and they were like up in the kind of that is Glasgow.
That's incredible. I wanted to ask you about how you figured out how Rosalind's singing voice would sound and what the inspirations were there.
So I think when we were like kind of exploring the music and singing country music, because I had really no relationship to country music before I did the film, and we went up to kind of a friend's shed up in North London for like... I was filming in Belfast, so I was like coming back and forth every 2 weeks, and we would just kind of find through the songs that Nicole had written within the script, and also like just different artists like Emmylou Harris and Dolly and Willie Nelson and Bonnie Raitt as well was a big inspiration for me. Even, you know, she's quite bluesy country, and I just basically drowned myself in as much country music as I possibly could, and finding little clips of kind of bluegrass country stuff that had kind of been, had come from Scottish heritage, because there's a huge link between kind of Scotland and Ireland and South America with like country music and the lineage of where that came from. And then just working with the amazing musicians in my band. Neil McCall, who's like got a wealth of kind of folk and country music in his loins. It was just kind of a constant simmering.
And it feels like the UK country music scene is having a bit of a revival at the moment. And I was wondering what your thoughts on that would be, and how you describe the current state of any bands that you're a fan of.
Well, I think Nicole Taylor, who wrote Wild Rose, is, as she would say, pure delighted, because she's been going to C2C on her own for like years, and finally it's really cool to be into country nowadays, and everybody wants to go and see, Ashley McBride and Casey Musgrove, and it's just, I think it boils down to, what's so beautiful about country music is that it's incredibly simple stories told in a very simple way, but told truthfully. And I think people always respond to truth and to they're very human moments. And when it's done well like that, and when you hear people like Emmylou Harris talk about love or addiction, or sitting at home on a Sunday in her armchair in her songs, it has a way of just getting into your heart, and before you know it, you're kind of moved to tears or getting up dancing, and there's just an energy of honesty behind it that is awesome.
And how would you define the importance of this female relationship-driven film with complex women at the heart of it right now?
Well, when I first read the script, my first thought was that this was like a prison break film about all the different women and their each kind of social limitations that they've been allowed to dream in, and whether it is Sophie Okonedo's character being told that she's only allowed to exist within her domestic sphere, or Julie's character, Marion, who's been, who had dreams, but because the way her life panned out didn't kind of go after her dreams, or Rose Lynn, who's got like her tenacious kind of courage to break down those prison gates and bottle after her dream. That was what kind of struck me most, and it was such an amazing thing to experience, having a chance to excavate those relationships with each other, and kind of really have that like intense mother-daughter relationship on screen, and working with somebody like Julie, who's just so generous and truthful and honest, and Sophie, who's equally incredibly generous and honest, and try and make those relationships be as true as possible within the context of what Nicole was saying was just amazing.